Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Postgame Show podcast, and it is a combined no-hitter for the Cubs at Wrigley Field. I guess this is the most historic show we've ever done at CHGO. That's what you brought it up. You're right. Cody Delmendo, Luke Stuckmeyer with you.
In terms of, what about all of CHGO? Is any other
That's
team
what I'm
in
saying.
this city?
CHGO history. What else have we done?
I mean,
this is it.
Since we launched this entire city,
the combined team no-hitter for the Cubs, 12-0 over the Pirates. First Cubs no-hitter at Wrigley Field since Milt Pappas in 1972. How long is that? Well, I was like 7 months old the last time it happened.
My mom was 12.
Like 7 months old.
Yeah, Mom was 12. My dad was like 17. Yeah.
It's a long time, 52 years. 52 years ago since the Cubs threw a no-hitter of some kind at Wrigley Field. Is it the same thing as Milt Pappas throwing a no-hitter? No. But is it still pretty cool that they gave up no hits? It would have been a fun game to be at, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or Corey Friedman had to give away his tickets tonight and decided not to go.
I honestly just think he didn't want to go.
Either way, I feel bad for him. You could at least seen a combined no-hitter and 12 runs. Yeah. As far as games to go to, it was a pretty good one. We'll talk more about that in a second. We'll also talk about the offensive explosion. We'll talk about Justin Steele's injury. We'll talk about the return of Rizzo coming on Friday and our big takeover on Friday at Wrigley Field as well. Shout out to all the new diehards: Robert, Patrick, James, Randall, Peter, Fred, Randy, Curtis, Jordan, Matthew, Jeremy, Eddie, and Matt.
Wow.
Let me tell you, the diehard program is blowing up.
We didn't specifically just make those names up.
Right before Bear season.
Yeah.
Before Caleb. And before the recruiting of Juan Soto and return of Rizzo as well. So this game was, first of all, they got outscored, 10-3? First two games of the series. And it was the low of the low. I think even the hopers and the believers, at least half of them finally started to trail off me like, yeah, it's over. This is disgusting. It's down to 3% or whatever.
I yelled last night.
You yelled. You got all mad. And it's like, all right, please don't at least, let's not get swept by the Pirates at home.
Yeah. Don't
face plant like that. And so it was up to Shota Imanaga, and the Cubs all-star did it. 95 pitches he went, 7 innings, no hits, 7 strikeouts. Are you mad that he didn't get the chance to go? My answer is simple, no.
No, I'm not mad. He had 95 pitches when he came out, and I get it, because especially from people not against your age, but a lot of the older generations saw guys throw no-hitters and go out there and throw 120 pitches. It's just we just don't live in that era anymore, So like, I get it from a certain standpoint on why people are asking. I saw Barb in the chat ask why not.
He can't have walks. He had 2 walks.
Right.
That's.
But the point I'm making here is that we've seen other no-hitters, years past where they go well over 100 pitches. And I think if he had 95 pitches going into the 9th, sure. But he still had the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. So there was no way that he was going to be able to go unless they were going to be like, let him go and throw, 120, 130 pitches. And you just don't see that in today's game. And so I'm not upset that they took him out, even if I do think the season is over. So yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone following the game, watching and seeing the pitch count, there was no way he was going to pitch that entire game.
He hasn't done it before, first of all. Second of all, you just put Justin Steele on the injured list.
Right.
With an elbow issue.
Right.
And they're taking a second look at the MRI. Okay. You do not need this season to end the way it's ending and go into next season with, hey, at the end of the year, by the way, our two best pitchers had elbow issues, knock on what, you know what I mean? Like, it's unnecessary. Would it be cool to see? Yes, I would assume that Imanaga is going to say the same thing, like it was time to come out.
Yeah. Again, if he had 95 pitches going into the ninth,
different.
I think it's different.
Yeah.
I do think it's different if he had 95 pitches going into the ninth. But in today's game, to get a no-hitter, you really do need to get a lot of quick outs early, I feel like, because once you get those quick outs early, you're able to settle in as the game moves along. And guys like Shota and other guys who've got no hitters show just how good they can be the deeper they go into games. And early, like, I was actually surprised he had no hits because I was obviously following the game, but I didn't realize he didn't have no hits legitimately until like the fifth inning.
Right.
And I was like, oh, he has no hits. And like, the reason I bring this up is early in the game, I felt like the Pirates were working counts. They were fouling off a lot of pitches. And so I was like, okay, well, at this point, and this was when the score was still 0-0, I was like, okay, well, or at least like low scoring. It was like 1 or 2 runs. It felt like, okay, well, he might be able to go 6 if they, if he finally starts to not get so many pitches fouled off, stuff like that. Like they were working some deep counts on him early. And then I think it was around the 3rd, 4th inning, he started racking up some strikeouts. And so he got better as the game went along, which is, you just don't see that from a lot of pitchers, but he just continues to do what he does. It's nothing like, it's not like Paul Skeens with the 100 miles per hour or anything like that. You know what you're going to get. He's going to throw that splitter. He's going to throw that fastball up, and you have to try and hit it. And he got good defense behind him tonight as well, like outside of Paredes. But, he's just a special dude, man. He's just a special dude. He just figures out how to give you quality innings, and it's kind of one of those, like, we talk about it with Justin Steele a little bit last year, where we just, 2-pitch pitcher. He throws those Mississippi fastballs and he throws a slider. Like, it's kind of the same thing with Shota. It's like he goes up there and you basically know what he's going to throw. You know where he's going to throw it, and it all comes down to, can you hit it? And on certain nights, and a night like tonight, the Pirates couldn't hit it. And yeah, man, it was fun.
It was fun to watch. I caught the radio broadcast right as the game was starting, and Pat Hughes was saying, "Listen, they need a big start out of Shota Imanaga. They got it.
They got it.
They got that start from him." And the live YouTube chat, which is the best way to enjoy the CHGO experience, because you can comment along live. We'll read some of the comments, interact with you throughout the show. Everybody there that I've seen commenting is right. Like, 3 errors didn't help him. 2 walks didn't help him if he wanted to get to the no-hitter.
Yeah.
He ran into a little bit of trouble there. So it was time. The no-hitter would have been nice, but I'd rather have a healthy Imanaga next season than in a game when you have a 2% chance of making the postseason, if it's that.
Yeah, well.
So this was the right path.
Yeah. I don't blame fans for booing. No,
especially if you're there. I would be, I'd be a little upset, but I would. When you zoom back out and you look at it, I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for him to go for it in that game, especially it's not like you were debating, do I need to leave him in? Is the bullpen going to blow this? If they blow this, you were up 12 runs.
Yeah,
you're up 10 runs at that point or something. So
yeah, this one was one of those. This is one of those games where, I just did not expect this result tonight. I really did not expect this result. Not only Shota, well, I'll expect Shota to be awesome all the time because that's what he has done, but I didn't expect 12 runs based off the first 2 games of the series. And it felt like coming in the game, the vibes were very deflated. And, for one night, the offense showed up and did what they're supposed to do against, honestly, a bad bullpen and the guy who started for the Pirates, Domingo Germán. Not very good. He hasn't been very good this year at all, and
they've given up.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that they actually took care of business when they're supposed to take care of business, and we've seen a lot of games where they get a guy in a certain same type of pitcher that has struggled, and they just haven't been able to hit off him. And tonight they did. So that made Shota's performance even more fun because it was a low-stress game for us.
Yeah, Jake Hazen 20 says in the live YouTube chat, Imanaga is an easy guy to cheer for. I agree with that. Yeah. We talked about him last night, just showing up in the Walter Payton jersey and the Jordans and the vibes he came to the ballpark with. He's had this fan base from the very beginning in the palm of his hand, right? Like he's had them. And I also feel good. You said it right after the game. Cool for Alex Cohen to get to call a no-hitter, even if it is a combined no-hitter. It's a no-hitter, and he called a major league game, and he got to see that at Wrigley Field. I don't know what his rec is. He 3-0?
I think they have one loss under him. But I
know one thing. They've hit a lot of home runs with him calling the games, like a lot. Like we should just call him Alex Home Run Cohen.
Yeah, like can you stay? Don't go back to Iowa.
And a friend of the show, Porter Hodge, feel good for him too because there's a lot of pressure coming in.
To that ninth inning with no hits, and everybody's looking at you, man. Yeah.
Everybody's looking at you.
Yeah, Hodge continues to, be one of the very big bright spots for this team going into 2025 if he, closes out September with, strong like he's been all season, and you can go into next year feeling very confident with him as a high-leverage reliever at the very least. And we've been able to say that about a handful of other guys, but they weren't like homegrown guys.
Yeah.
Like maybe ALLCITY going into last season, we were a little bit optimistic about because we'd seen flashes, but we had never really fully seen it for a full year. We're seeing it for not a complete full year for Hodge, but since he's been promoted, he really has just been awesome. So, happy for him. Come on, CHGO Cubs, and you become awesome.
That's right. How about Miguel Amaya? He called it like you could say combined no hitter. It's three different pitchers, and Imanaga did the heavy lifting. But we've been critical on the podcast of Amaya as a catcher.
Yeah,
I mean he's had trouble throwing guys out for sure. But to call a no hitter is feather in the cap for sure. So good. Good for him.
Well, you can certainly say about Amaya or just the Cubs catchers in general, the one thing that they have done well this year, I feel like overall, is called games good.
I don't disagree with that.
Because the starting pitching has been awesome all season, no matter who's throwing out. Even Kyle Hendricks has had good starts. He hasn't been great or fantastic or anything, but he has had good starts. So overall, though, is the starting rotation, they've been great because not necessarily fully because of catchers, but they give I know Hendricks has definitely given Amaya a ton of credit in previous starts. So, yeah, man, it was just an all around good night for the entire squad.
I mean, it was just a fun night at Wrigley Field. The weather was great. Mm-hmm. The vibes weren't good coming in. It was you could tell it was a smaller crowd at Wrigley Field, and so to get this was at least an enjoyable end of the series, and especially with the Yankees coming in. Again, we have that big takeover coming on Friday for Rizzo's return and the recruitment of Soto. We'll talk more about that in just a bit. We're going to talk about the offensive explosion by the Cubs. What do you do with PCA? I mean, like, seriously, do you move him up in the lineup right now? I'll admit it. I didn't see this coming this season. I wasn't ruling him out as a good player in the future, but I had seen enough this season where I thought it's not, if it's going to click for him, it's not going to be this season. I was dead wrong about that. It looks like he's flipped a switch and all of a sudden everything about the game has slowed down for him, except for getting doubled off of first base. But I mean, what was he, a triple away from the cycle? And maybe I would say he was less than an inch away from a cycle because there's no way he's not burning it out of that box to get that triple. If there's anybody I know was going to get that triple, it was going to be PCA.
That would have been so fun to see if that would have actually happened. And if he would have got thrown out, I would have been like,
I wouldn't
fine.
have cared. The
cared.
Cubs wouldn't have cared. I mean, he got thrown out at first.
Well,
later.
On that line out or whatever, right? But, yeah, no, he's been awesome. We can talk more about him in the second segment.
Yeah, we will. First, want to tell you about our friends at Circa Sportsbook. Whether it's pro or college, the app to bet football is Circa Sports Illinois. Circa Sports is sports betting the way it should be. Circa Sports Illinois has high betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service. Bet on all your favorite teams in every game this season. Spreads, props, futures, or in-game, Circa Sports has it. Fund and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois. Download your new bookie today at circasports.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Get ready for the NFL. It starts tomorrow.
Ravens +3. You're welcome. I'll also take the under. Death taxes, primetime unders, they hit at 60%, over a 60% rate last year in primetime games.
Take the under.
Take the under. All right. Z-Biotics. I have to tell you about these folks, all right? It's a game-changing product that I use before a night out with drinks. It's called Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol. Luke tells you about it all the time. He made me tell you about
Game
it
changer.
tonight because I'm the one who's using it more than him. He's too busy sleeping at 9 a.m. or 9 p.m., sorry. Let's face it, after a night with drinks,
9:22.
after a night with drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. I have to make a choice. I can either have a great night or a great next day. That is until I found Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol. Let me tell you, if there's a surefire way to wake up feeling fresh after a night of drinking, it's with Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. This is how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day, though. All right. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow, Luke. It's really that easy.
Bingo.
All right.
Live life to the fullest.
As someone, in the fall or even in the summer, it's the fall, basically. So, college football Saturdays. When I watch
It's a long day.
When I watch postseason baseball, when the Cubs are somehow in it, it's been like 7 years since then, but whatever.
Friday 120 Club.
Friday 120
takeover.
clubs, like all of these times I drink Z-Biotics before I start drinking.
Then I next time you're going to want to take one? Well, you'll want to take one Friday for the Rizzo return takeover, and then Sunday for the Bears tailgate.
Absolutely. I mean, there's going to be a lot of blue moons flowing this weekend.
Yeah.
All right. So vacations, weddings, birthdays, and reunions. There's so much going on throughout the year. Get the most out of your summer plans by stocking up on pre-alcohol now. Go to zbiotics.com/CHGO Cubs to get 15% off your first order when you use CHGO Cubs at checkout. Pre-alcohol is backed with 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund you your money back. No questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/CHGO Cubs and use code CHGO Cubs at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Z-Biotics, for sponsoring this episode and our good times.
Thank you. Hey, fork that pork. Pete Crow Armstrong, Dansby Swanson, and Cody Bellinger provided the power for tonight's game presented by Illinois pork producers. Savor the flavor, savor the gains, and celebrate any occasion by enjoying the best pork produced by Illinois' great pig farmers. 3 home runs in the game, 17 hits, 12 runs. It's the power of the home run. PCA with his 8th this season, Bellinger with his 15th, Swanson with his 14th. Swanson was also a triple away from the cycle, correct? I believe so.
He was close.
I think we had 2 guys, and you had Horner also had 3 hits, so you had 3 multi-hit guys. Mm-hmm. Now, we also have an offensive explosion. They had nothing for 2 days, and you get games like this. This is the 2024 Cubs. Yep. When they score runs, it always seems to come around games when they have 2 to 3 home runs. I gave the stat last week. I'm not going to dig it up again, but their record when they hit 2 home runs is incredible. When they hit 1 home run, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
They just don't hit enough of them, and this just shows you what can happen. Now, you're not always going to get 17 hits. It's not easy to run those all together, but a lot of hits tonight, a lot of offense. I ask you, PCA, what do you do with them?
Well, I love that we are shifting back to PCA here a little bit, but with tonight's game, his OPS now over 700.
Oh.
His OPS, probably about a month and a half ago, was around 550. Maybe even lower than that, to be honest with you.
He's been great.
Yeah, he's been great here in the second half of the season. And we talked about it so much. I don't want to repeat what we've said in previous shows, but, I mean, you started to see little flashes in early July. They go to the All-Star break. Before the All-Star break, he has that 2-homer game against the Cardinals. Go to the All-Star break. Kind of struggles out the gates. The entire offense struggled out the gates the first couple series. And then he started getting it going in that Royals series. And he's taken off since then. And he's showing you the value that he brings to the team. Whether it was Monday when he was able to get into second base on that ground ball to avoid the double play, or hitting the ball over the fence tonight, hitting the ball off the wall tonight, and then using his speed to turn doubles into triples, and sometimes singles into doubles, or, he hits a single and he's on second base almost immediately because he has 99 percentile sprint speed. He is showing you everything that he can be. And to me, if there is anyone on this team that could be a star one day, it's him, because the way that he's been playing over the last month and a half is at like a 6-WAR pace. Mm-hmm. And the Cubs didn't have any 6-WAR players last year. All right. He could develop into a star. I truly believe that, based off what I've seen. But even if he doesn't turn into a star, like a every year all-star caliber player, he's still showing that the floor is still so high, because even when he was struggling with the bat, he was still so valuable defensively and on the base paths. If he could just find a way to hit league average, he can be a 4-WAR player. But if he hits like he's been hitting since the end of July, he's a star. He can be an all-star caliber player. He can start in center field at all-star games for years to come. He can be leading off for the Cubs opening day in 2025 and setting the table for this squad with whoever else is in the lineup next year. Like he's a guy that if he can hit like this on a consistent basis, you want to give that guy the most at bats on your team. And with that speed that he has and the defense that he has as well, the sky is the limit.
I keep asking for the Cubs to have a player that other teams fear, that other pitchers fear, that they don't want to see coming up at the top of the inning, that they don't want to see coming up in key situations in the game. You're right. He has that potential. He's showing you a flash that at least it could be in there. And you can see that his skill set, if he can harness it, could deliver that. I saw Nico Horner talking about him recently, and Nico was like, listen, he's gonna easily steal 40 bases every season. He's going to start hitting opposite field home runs at Wrigley Field. You've seen that he can have the power, and you guarantee that he's going to be playing Gold Glove center field for the next 10 years. There's only 4 guys in baseball that can say that.
Yeah.
So he is a special skill set. Is he equal to having Aaron Judge on your team? No, it's a different type of player. It's why when we get to Friday, it's why I still say you need to go out and overspend and get Soto, because you put Soto with a guy like that, and now you have a dynamic 1-2 punch in your lineup.
Yeah.
You don't have to hit them next to each other. You could put them wherever you want, but that's when an opposing team is afraid.
Sure.
When you have a couple of guys like that, and then Dansby's going to be here. If Dansby can give you 20 home runs a season, and he could start to live with other things. I can't live with Isaac Paredes having 3 errors a game. That I can't live with.
Yeah.
But if you can get somebody to go with him, then you're starting to build something for an offense.
My bad. I said that PCA his OPS had gone over 700. That was Dansby Swanson.
Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. It could be either guy.
But PCA is up to 691. So
same difference.
He has a couple good more. If he continues
Friday,
another good week.
Friday, he's over.
Yeah, right. For a guy like PCA, you always had to give him the the major league plate appearances. He always needed to figure out how to hit major league pitching. And I know even I had moments, I wouldn't tweet about it or say it on the show, but even I would sit at my house sometimes this summer and just be like, man, when is this guy going to figure it out? Because if he doesn't figure it out, then we have massive.
Big of you to admit, by the way.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that I fan just like everyone else. But it doesn't mean that I gave up on the guy. There were a lot of people that were giving up on this guy, 2 months into the season with him on the team, right?
Which would have been silly even if he hadn't done what he's doing now.
I agree. The point is, and you make a good point about still being in there, getting a superstar player like Juan Soto,
still need
whatever. PCA, you're not paying him anything for the next. What? He's a free agent in 2031.
It's like Caleb Williams.
Right.
Take advantage of a star player when they're not getting paid.
Yes, you have to take advantage of having these pre-arb players because they're so cheap. And this is all the best teams in baseball. It's why it's so important to be able to develop players while also spending money on the guys that you need that are supposed to help put you over the top. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, yeah, man, I admit that I didn't expect a hot stretch like this from Pete Crow Armstrong over the last month and a half, but I did expect at least league average play. But I will say this, when he has almost 30 stolen bases, or if he's close to it already or has already surpassed it, and he struggled at the plate for as much as he did before all that.
Some hideous at-bats.
Right, like the fact that he still was able to steal all those bases despite struggling at the plate, his speed is such a threat on defense and at the plate, no matter what, no matter how much he's struggling or not struggling. So, like I said, the sky's the limit, and he's only 22 years old. Like, he's a guy that, we've sat here for 2.5 years and we're like, who's the next Cubs jersey you're going to buy? Like, we were like, maybe Seiya. Bellinger is
funny because I was thinking that right now as you were talking, like,
I've been talking to you for 2.5 years, so it's kind of.
But you know what I mean? You were talking, and I was thinking in my head, like, back to those jersey conversations. I'm like, he's got to be at the top of the list now.
Yeah, like that's what I'm getting at is that
Shota's up there.
Yeah, Shota. I see a lot of Shota unis at Wrigley. I've seen a lot of Bellingers. I see a lot of Horners and Steels and all. And I think all these guys that I just mentioned, a lot of them, they're like easy guys to cheer for. Mm-hmm. It's not like the Cubs don't have a lot of players that are easy to cheer for. But when you talk about, like, for example, when the Blue Jays came to Wrigley, I went there for that Sunday game, and all around the ballpark, for anyone wearing a Blue Jays jersey, they were all Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s.
Sure.
All of them. Large, like 85+% of them were, right? What I'm saying about PCA is he has the kind of star potential that you could come to Wrigley Field and you're just going to see nothing but PCA jerseys in terms of like current players. You're always going to see Bryants and Rizzos and the Sandbergs and all the old times. I'm just saying that, like, in terms of current players, he has yes, Grzelcyk, Todd Walker, Tony Campana, PCA has the kind of pull in to the young fans and just any fan in general that loves the game to get someone to go and buy his jersey because he just does so much. He's not a one-dimensional player. He is a guy who can do it all. I've even been so surprised by the power that he has displayed too. 8 homers, and he struggled for over half the season. So
if you're a little kid, that's the player you'll be gravitating to.
Yeah,
there's no question about it.
Absolutely. And so
does he make mistakes? Yes, but he's, like you said, he's 22. He's learning on the fly. They told him not to worry about offense, and now all of a sudden the offense is showing almost as much potential as the defense is.
Yeah.
So that part of it has been exciting here late in the season. We're going to talk about Anthony Rizzo's return, our big takeover coming up on Friday, what that game means. We'll take a look at some of the numbers for Rizzo, who just made his return back. But first, you got to wear your Shady Rays to the Rizzo return. Get ready to impress with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by more than 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. They have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style. And you know what? They even have them in Cubs colors. I wear my Shady Rays fishing, golfing, driving, and when I'm just vibing for everyone. Plus, if your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, don't sweat it. They have the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by lost or broken replacements. If you don't love your shades, exchange them for a new pair or return them worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop because their team always has your back with personal and fast support. Exclusively for our listeners here at CHGO, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Right now, head to shadyrays.com and use the code CHGO. That gets you 35% off polarized sunglasses. CHGO gets you 35% off those Shady Rays. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by more than 300,000 people.
Sunnyside. Are you curious to what some of the amazing features that brand will give you, Luke?
I am.
I know you are.
I know Corey likes the chocolates.
Mindy's.
Mindy's.
Yeah.
Mindy's.
I was on Sunday. I saw a buddy of mine, a college buddy, who uses our code all the time when he goes to Sunnyside.
Nice.
Yes. He loves Cresco. He has a Cresco shirt.
Florical, Cresco.
Yeah. All right.
Both part of the house of brands there at Sunnyside.
Yes. We love Sunnyside here at CHGO. It's a one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs. It has an expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from, plus easy online ordering, especially for people like Luke. They also have in-store pickup for people like Luke, all right? Sunnyside is Illinois' favorite dispensary with locations here in Chicago and Wrigleyville and River North, to the suburbs, all the way down to Champaign, all the way up to South Beloit and more. If you're starting out, Sunnyside has expert guidance and brands they know you'll love, like Good News and Mindy's. If you're a pro, they've got you covered as well with over 100 strains on the menu and new ones added weekly. They know you'll love Cresco and Florical's incredible quality and consistent products. It's easy to order online, like I said, and they're there in store to help as well. All right, here for the summer. Still a lot of summer left, in my opinion. Is Good News Tea Time Disposable Vape, bringing classic lemonade flavor that's perfect for the golf course because we all need a little help staying loose on the green. So visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. 50% off your first 3.
50% off.
That's an incredible deal.
With the code HICHGO.
With promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders, Luke.
Friday is a big day. We do not have a show tomorrow.
No show tomorrow because we have a show Friday.
We're going to do a show Friday. Yep. Normally it'd be like a Friday 120 club. Mm-hmm. But because it's Rizzo's return, we targeted this one from the very beginning that this would be a takeover. So we're going to all buy tickets together. There's still some available at allchgo.com.
Yep.
Right? By the way, diehards, you get 20% off. So it's a good time to sign up for that diehard membership. But I was thinking about Rizzo's return specifically today when Kyle Schwarber hit his 4th home run in 2 days. And I was like, oh, man, he's the guy I can't handle that he got away for nothing.
I think
it bothers me every time he hits a home run. It bothers me.
Everyone who listens or watches this show on a daily basis, I think, knows that Kyle Schwarber's success with Philadelphia bothers me and you both equally, more than anyone else in this office.
It bothers me.
It bothers me and you more than it bothers Corey, Brendan, and Ryan. Absolutely bothers me and you the most.
He was one of my favorite players to talk to, and he is one of my favorite players to watch. And I've never, while PCA is thrilling right now, Schwarber in 2016 was like Babe Ruth coming to the plate. It was just And now to watch him having great success with the Phillies, I'm happy for him. Wish the Cubs hadn't let him walk away for nothing. So Rizzo returns for his first time at Wrigley Field since he was traded away. Hard to believe. He'll be there Friday. We'll be there for the takeover. Still get your tickets. Rizzo just got back. I mean, he's been out 2.5 months with a forearm fracture from a play at first base, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, he had a collision at first base. He only played 99 games last year because of a concussion. First game back, I believe, was at 2 for 4 with a double and an RBI. So I was looking at the numbers, and I'm like, I know this isn't like apples to apples, but what's been the difference? Rizzo Cubs, has he been worth the money? Well, obviously, up until Bush this year, they've had nobody playing first base. They haven't replaced him at first base. We kept waiting, Mash Mervis, all the,
Up until this year.
There was no answer at first base. Rizzo, 10 years with the Cubs, played 1,308 games, 242 homers, 784 RBI, and of course, a World Series championship and 3 trips to the NLCS. Rizzo with the Yankees the last 4 years, he has played just 351 games. He has 300 hits, 60 homers, 168 RBI. Right now, if he didn't play another game this season, he'd only be averaging 87 games a season for the Yankees.
Well,
it's going to be, even with, let's say he finishes it out here the rest of the year, it's still going to be well below 100 games a season.
Right.
The problem with the deal for Rizzo and why it got tricky wasn't because they didn't love Anthony Rizzo. Everybody loved what he did for the city, what he meant to the franchise. They were worried about injuries. They were worried about the back. That was one of the biggest concerns, right? To some degree, they were right. He hasn't been super healthy the last 4 years. That doesn't mean he isn't better than what they've had up until this year.
Sure. I was just going to say that, last year, he started off last year really well.
Yeah.
And then he had that collision at first base, I want to say, with Fernando Tatis Jr., and that led to a concussion.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was Tatis.
And then the Yankees continued to play him, and his numbers started to drastically drop.
Yeah.
And then they put him on the injured list after however many games. I don't know off the top of my head. And then this year, he struggled to start the year, then got hurt, like you just said, been out 2.5 months. So I would say, obviously, the rest of 2021, he was a factor for them. He was good for them. He was to me, he was normal Anthony Rizzo that I've grown to know in 2022 with the Yankees. But yeah, last year injury-ridden, this year injury-ridden. So he is in his mid-30s now.
I think he's 35. Is that right?
Yeah,
I believe he's 35.
Yeah, so
that's hard to believe.
So it's like, guys get older, they get hurt easier. You know what I mean? Like we've talked about this plenty of times. So I'll say this, and I posted a video the other day about, I was at the lake and I was thinking about it because especially after losing on Monday, I was just like, I don't even care about the rest of the season.
Your hopes and dreams were floating away on each wave.
I cared. I've had this date circled on my calendar all season. All right?
You have.
Anthony Rizzo there's no bad thing I can say about the guy, but I will say this. The Cubs always gave him the best offer if he cared about long-term security. He's never gotten more than a 2-year deal from the Yankees or anyone else. The Cubs reportedly had offered him a 5-year deal worth around like $70 to $75 million. All right.
If you believe the reports, the Cubs were right.
Yeah. And sure, I think
they were right about Bryant. They were right about Baez.
Sure. I think you can argue that Rizzo he hasn't been nearly as bad as Javi or Chris Bryant.
Which is the surprising part, by the way, because
right.
those were the guys that would have commanded the higher contracts. Rizzo was the aging guy.
Uh-huh.
He would have been the one you could have gotten away with keeping, not only because he meant so much to the clubhouse, but because on the field he's been passable. The other two have been unplayable almost. So
I would say of the 4 guys, Baez, Bryant, Rizzo, and Schwarber.
Yeah.
I think Rizzo was the most likely to take a dip because of the bad back. Yeah. It was already showing signs. Now, Bryant did too, But I never expected Chris Bryant to fall off the cliff like he has.
Yeah. So I guess I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate to what you're saying about Rizzo and the injuries. I don't necessarily know if the injuries were a thing with the Cubs. Maybe you know more than me.
He would his back would go out and tighten up on him, and he'd miss a couple games, and then like a month later his back would tighten up.
That was always a thing.
He's a big guy. Yeah. I remember seeing him for the first time in Iowa. We went like a month before he was called up. And went and interviewed him, sat down with him, and he was like, the future's coming, the time is now. And I loved everything he was saying. And then I watched him hit 2 home runs in the first game that I watched him play. And when he ran, it was like a bull was running to first base. It wasn't pretty. There was clouds of dust going down the field, and I thought, man, this guy's going to hit home runs in the big leagues, but I wonder how his body, he's a big guy. Mm-hmm. And big guys and backs are not a good thing. Like, I guess that's a generalization, but it's something I thought right away was like, man, I hope his career lasts long. That's a big dude, and he swings hard.
Yeah. Again, whatever the reasoning was, I don't even really think it had to do with money because, again, the Cubs offered him, reportedly, the best contract that he would have been offered, and he decided to test the market. Mm-hmm. And because if my memory serves right, they offered him that 5-year deal in spring training, and it came out. People took it as like a massive lowball offer, and fans were pissed. And then he refused to talk contracts in season, and everything fell apart in June with that 11-game losing streak. And then they decided to sell, as we all know. And
feelings get hurt in negotiations. Contract negotiations with anything. Mm-hmm. But when you make it a Major League Baseball player and somebody who's helped you break a 108-year drought, it's real easy for feelings to get hurt when it comes down to business. And it's hard to separate business and
I will say this much too, like he was severely underpaid through the prime of his career with the Cubs.
He was.
He was severely underpaid. So I can understand his frustration with how this went because
I don't blame
he
him.
Probably felt like he deserved more. And based off what he had done, sure, I can absolutely see that.
I don't blame any of those guys for wanting more money, for wanting the most.
Yeah.
They won the championship here.
Right.
They had their moments of glory. They'll be Cubs legends forever, no matter what. So I don't blame them wanting to get paid the most they can get paid.
Yeah,
especially Rizzo. Somebody goes through cancer and donates as much money as he does for kids. I'll be shocked if when he's here he doesn't go to the children's hospital, and because that's what he does.
Right. So I guess to bring it all around here, like I was actually watching the podcast that I did that day that he got traded.
Yeah,
I did it with my pal Ron Luce. He's been on the show right way back when we first launched. He came on our show.
Yep.
I watched it last night when I got home because I couldn't sleep. And I remember when I was watching it, I realized, man, I was so angry that day. I was very angry, and I was angry
that they traded Rizzo.
It was I was sad that they traded Rizzo. I was angry because Rizzo didn't get to say goodbye. He didn't play in that game.
Yeah.
That the day that he got traded, him or Bryant didn't play in that game. And I think some stuff came out a couple days later on why they didn't play or whatever. I think the Cubs framed it as just like a scheduled off day or whatever. But
Bryant crying in the dugout after he found out.
I just remember I watched it and I was like, man, it kind of rung a bell. Like, oh yeah, I was definitely more mad about the fact that he didn't even get to wave to the fans goodbye or something like that. I say that because now Friday, he's finally going to have that, and I feel like I, as a fan, will finally have some closure with it. Because as much as like I loved Javi and I loved KB, and I was honestly I was always on the line to keep Chris Bryant over any of them because I just thought he had the higher ceiling. This is why I don't work in the front office.
But he did have the highest ceiling of everybody.
But Rizzo was a guy that I really didn't expect that they were going to actually trade. And then it happened, and it was like shock, and it was sadness, and then it was anger because of how it felt. It felt very corporate from the Cubs because it was like you sat him on that day. You didn't give him a moment with the fans or anything. And then after the game, there's the pictures that the media all put out there of him hanging out in the outfield, taking pictures with the Ivy, and then like the video of him going to his car and all the fans like out in the street just waiting for him to come out there. Like that didn't happen for any of the rest of them.
You think he cries?
Yeah, I think so.
I think he might. I'm surprised Javi was real close. It's been a long time. I wouldn't be surprised. What's the perfect return for you? Like, what's the perfect way it plays out? For me, it's Rizzo shows up. They give him a piece of the scoreboard. He gets a little choked up. He acknowledges. They give him a standing ovation every time he comes to the plate because he deserves that too. Yep. And you know what? Maybe he hits a home run. I'd honestly be okay with a home run from Anthony Rizzo. And I'm not saying I want the Yankees to beat the Cubs, but if the Cubs can win the game and Rizzo hits a home run,
it's kind of like what happened with the Tigers where Javi finally got a hit and then they were getting blown out.
Yeah.
You know? I don't expect that to happen against the Yankees. I've just been thinking about for the last handful of years since this happened. Like I've been thinking about like, what is it going to feel like whenever he comes back to Wrigley, not in a Cubs uniform? And to me, I guess the perfect or the way that I want it to play out is, man, if it was up to me, we would stand for 16 minutes and just give him the ovation. 16 being for 2016. Yeah. Like it won't happen because it just never does. But he just deserves just the longest standing ovation you can possibly give a man. Like he has always been the one that emotionally was attached to the fans the most than anything else. Everyone loved Javi because he was an exciting player. Everyone loved Chris because he had the smile, he had the look, and he was the MVP. But Anthony was here through all the bad years. He was on the 2012 team that lost 100 games. He went through the tough years in 2013 and 2014 while watching the team develop and himself develop, get better every single year during that process, and then was the captain of the team and going through what started the golden era. Like you can't talk about the Chicago Cubs without talking about Anthony Rizzo. You just can't. And like all of those things I just said, that's why sometimes I kind of lean to like fans who are like, you should have always kept him no matter what, this and that. He should have been a Cub for life. All these, I resonate a little bit with fans who are like that. At the same time, though, a lot of things of what you've said are right. And Kevin Alcantara has a very, very high ceiling, right? Like both things can be true. It's just, to me, it's just going to be a very emotional day. I think I might legitimately shed a few tears. Like, and that's not like, I'm not saying that like sarcastically. Like I legitimately might, because like he made his debut when I was in college. Like this isn't like adult, like full grown adult working in media, Cody. This is like, I was in college and I was like developing as a person.
Sure.
And I was watching the Cubs go from being a 100-loss team to winning the World Series with this guy being the face of the franchise. He's kind of like, to me, Anthony Rizzo is kind of my generation's Ryan Sandberg, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to be a Hall of Famer one day. He's probably more of a Hall of Very Good. He's going to be in the Cubs Hall of Fame one day. But I think for people in my generation, that's how Rizzo resonates. But the thing is that every generation Cubs fan loves Anthony Rizzo. I think he is the favorite Cub of any fan that watched the golden era. I think he's the favorite player more often than not.
I'll tell you this, a standing ovation every time he comes to the plate in the series would be a nice little selling point for a Juan Soto.
Yeah.
Let Juan Soto watch the Cubs fans.
You found a way to spin it.
I'm just telling you, let Juan Soto sit there in the dugout and have to wait for Rizzo to take his cap off every time he comes to the plate. Let him see how adored he could be at Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Question. I thought Cody nailed it with just Rizzo's connection to the fans. I'm making this Rizzo graphic for his return earlier tonight and like going through the pictures of him. There's literally so many iconic moments of him, and then there's so many photos of him with the biggest smile on his face. He just played the game with an insane energy, and an infectiousness. And I wanted to ask the chat, and I'm sure you have something planned, so I'm sorry if I'm jumping the gun, but I want to ask the chat, or if you're listening to this later and you want to tweet at CHGO Cubs, like what's the Rizzo moment that sticks out with you? He's had so many incredibly memorable moments as a Cub. There's a couple that come to mind for me, but I'm curious, just what are the Rizzo moments that come to mind? I'll ask you guys too.
That's good. Hold that thought. Think about it. Go ahead and answer on the live YouTube chat. First, want to tell you about our friends at Blue Moon. Some beers can say they're brewed for baseball. Only Blue Moon is brewed by baseball. Beer and baseball just go together, and no beer goes better than the one that was literally born in a ballpark. Blue Moon, created at Coors Field in Denver. It's the natural choice all season long. Summertime shy. Our weather is spectacular right now. Give me a Blue Moon to cool off or just enjoy the afternoon. Nothing beats watching baseball or college football or lounging by the pool like an ice-cold Blue Moon. Blue Moon was brewed by baseball to give you a dose of nostalgia and get you excited for a season. A beer this good only comes around once in a Blue Moon, but you can enjoy it all season long. Bring the ballpark to you with Blue Moon, Belgian-style wheat ale, one of a kind every time. Blue Moon delivered. How do you do it? Check it out by going to get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO to see your delivery options. That's get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO. Blue Moon, made brighter. Celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. What do you think? What is your moment? I have, 16 catching the ball. That's the most obvious one. I think the tarp catches are right there.
Yeah.
I think turning around and trying to fight the Reds.
Yeah.
Chapman
Yeah.
and the Reds in Cincinnati sticks out. And for me, personally, it just happens to be that cloud of dust running down in Iowa after he slugged a home run. And I was like, oh, man, this
guy's going to be something.
This guy's real.
Yeah. I guess in-game moment that I got to witness in person, I was at the very first full-capacity game post-COVID. So in 2021, it was like June. Like the Cubs announced it as like opening day 2.0. And that's the same game. He had like that 14 pitch at bat. And he hit the homer.
Oh, yeah.
And it was part of a comeback. The Cubs were trailing the Cardinals like 5-1. His homer ignited.
I heard that on the
comeback.
radio. Pat Hughes went crazy.
I have pictures from that day. There was some photographer across the ballpark that I guess knew who I was on social media, and he ended up sending me pictures of me and my buddy just
that's cool.
Losing our minds. I had like 2 beers in my hand. Very normal stuff for me. I'll have to show him.
You losing your mind with 2 beers in your hands?
Yeah. I'll have to show you sometime. Anyway, that was actually, of all the games, I know a lot of people think I've been going to a lot of games my entire life, but honestly, the most games I've been going to have been since I moved to Chicago. So I've been here for 3 years. But before that, like I would go to like maybe 1 or 2 games a year because I lived downstate. I didn't even live in the suburbs. So it was always like you had to plan it out type thing, right? So I don't really have a lot of like live moments of watching Rizzo doing anything. For years, I would come to Wrigley or wherever I would go watch the Cubs and be like, I've never seen Rizzo hit a homer. I just want to see him do it once. And that home run on that day in 2021 at opening day 2.0, when he hit that homer off after 14 pitches, that was a pretty cool moment. So that's probably my favorite live moment. But just in general for him as a player, the respect me. Yeah. I think that was in 2017.
That didn't play out. He didn't play very well after that, but that was funny.
Against the Nationals in Game 5.
Yeah.
How about, like, this encapsulates it for me because this is a game they were getting crushed in. He's pitching to Freddie Freeman.
Yes. Oh, my God. How did I forget?
Frederick.
0.00 ERA career.
I was going to ask Cody that.
That really exactly. Like, the fact that you forget those kind of moments with him is just, it sums up just how much he meant just in everything about being a Cubs fan. The wins, the losses, he was the heart and soul of the team for so many years. I remember when they were down 3-1 in the World Series, and I wasn't in the clubhouse, but he was apparently running around naked to the Rocky music and doing the shadow boxing. And I mean, the Cubs need a guy. I mean, I wasn't in the locker room again, but I bet you they don't win the World Series without a guy like that keeping the group together. So
And loose.
I'm excited too. I'm really excited to get to see Rizzo, and I hope he enjoys it, and the Cubs fans do him right.
Yeah.
I forgot one. He twerked on Beer Money.
Oh, yeah.
In the dugout with Kelly Kroll and David Ross.
The amount of times I've seen that GIF on
Rizzo twerking,
on Twitter,
that was Beer Money.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at when I asked you what would be the perfect game, because in my eyes, I'm picturing Cody's perfect game of Rizzo. It's that Rizzo and Cody lock eyes. They both tear up at some point. There's a bro moment there, right? Then he hits a home run. He has a long ovation. The ovation gets to Juan Soto. Soto's like, what's going on? And then, how does it end? The Cubs blow out the Yankees to the point that Anthony Rizzo has to pitch against the Cubs. That is your perfect game right there. If Rizzo could pitch, that would be...
If Rizzo pitches at all this weekend for the Yankees...
You would lose your mind.
I would absolutely lose my mind. I would cheer for him so hard. That'd probably be the most I'd ever cheer against the Cubs, is just for him to continue the 0.00 earned run average. I would love to see it. Oh.
All right. Is Ryan ready? Ryan Herrera is at beautiful historic Wrigley Field, where he's about to join the CHGO Cubs podcast. Mr. Herrera, are you there?
Hello.
He's there. All right. What was said after the game? Was anybody?
What'd Shota have to say?
Yeah. Did Shota have anything to say about coming out? Coming out of the game after the seventh inning. I don't see how that was even a decision. I think he had to come out in my eyes.
Well, no. Like it was kind of funny. Like he didn't know that he had a no-hitter going. Even so, like after the seventh inning, is what he said. Said after he finished, in a way, like I think he walked a couple guys. The errors, like I can see it because I think it was until like the fourth or fifth inning when I looked and I'm like, wait a minute, he's got a no-hitter going.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he said like after the game or after the seventh, counsel came up to talk to him, and usually he looks happy, especially if he goes 7 innings, no earned runs. But that counsel actually looked a little bit worried. So he tried to figure out what was going on. That's when he learned that he was throwing a no-hitter. But as soon as Craig came to talk to him, mentioned that he's got another outing, like his next outing, the outing after that, and just the importance of being ready, staying healthy, making it through the end of the season, get his innings in, make the rest of his starts. I think they saw the importance in that. And, the way they've kind of treated Shota as far as his workload, it kind of falls in line with it. I think he's thrown over 100 pitches twice, maybe on the year. I was looking earlier, and he's pitched on 4 days rest only 5 times this year, 5 days of rest 15 times, and 6+ days 5 times. They have really managed his workload this year. It falls in line with just the way counsel has gone about using Shota in the rotation. Does it kind of suck? Yeah, because he's got 7 no-hit innings going. Even counsel, admitted like it's hard to do that when a guy's throwing a no-hitter, obviously, right? But that the main point is taking care of Shota, that it's 100% about taking care of Shota and doing the right thing by him, prioritizing player health and making sure you have him moving forward is especially at this point in the year and where the Cubs are at. That takes a priority. Again, it sucks. Everyone wanted to see Shota throw a no-hitter. Maybe he could have done it, but that just was the decision. I don't think counsel thought twice about it. I think he did, but also it's like he's not second-guessing himself now and thinking that maybe he should have just left him in, especially considering they finished the no-hitter.
Okay, good. I can't believe he didn't know. We have a super chat, $49.99 from Ricky. That's one of our biggest super chats in a long time. Ricky
says, "I hope to see you guys on Friday."
All right, Ricky, let's roll.
Ricky, let's go. Hell yeah, man.
That's for the Rizzo return and the recruitment of Juan Soto.
Yeah. Big of him.
How about Porter Hodge? Did he talk after the game? And that's some pressure coming in.
Yeah. No, I think for him and Nate Pearson, obviously, and similar way, neither Nate Pearson or Miguel Amaya apparently knew that a no-hitter was going on until Pearson was coming out of the bullpen and people started booing. and they were trying to figure out why they were booing Nate Pearson coming out of the bullpen, and then kind of figured it out from there. Porter said that
the Pirates? Were the players aware they were playing the Pirates?
Yeah, I would hope so.
It was a no-hitter.
Yeah, right. I think for that, I think it's just part of one of those things. Like, again, like the errors, like they had guys on base, right? It wasn't a perfect game. Like they had some traffic a little bit. You would think that they maybe got a hit somewhere. The errors probably mess up just kind of the way you think about it. Like I said, it took me a little bit to remember that he had a no-hitter going as well. Porter Hodge said that he did know that he was throwing a no-hitter. Was in the bullpen with Pearson. They were both looking at the TV. He just kind of looked over and smiled at Pearson, thinking that he knew, realized he didn't know, but couldn't say anything to him because that's, the baseball jinx if you don't say when a guy's got a no-hitter going. But no, him and Pearson both talked about, like, coming out and following up on Shota, not just a no-hitter. It is a pressure situation, which is weird to say when you're up 12-0 in a game, but because of the no-hitter, it creates that. But it's also, I think, part of the point was that it felt like a pressure-packed situation, but the whole mentality was Shota just gave you 7 great innings, put you in a position to win a ball game, go back him up. Like, obviously, you want to finish the no-hitter, become part of history. I think, the second Cubs combined no-hitter ever and the first no-hitter at Wrigley Field by the Cubs since 1972. Obviously, all like becoming part of history like that all matters. But I think their mentality, a lot of it was like Shota just did a great job ahead of you. Now we come in and lock it down. No-hitter obviously added that pressure, but that's just the mentality I think these guys have when you do have your rotation, whoever it is starting for, you go out and just give you 7 amazing innings. Like, you have to follow that lead.
So what's crazy about all of this is that Jack Neely was warming up in like the second or third inning, and like I know Shota had walked a couple guys, but it's not like we're talking about Kyle Hendricks. Nothing against him. I mean, he's got a ERA over 6 this year.
Backhanded comment right there.
The point is that Shota has a longer leash. He's earned a longer leash this year. So I'm just confused at what all that was.
I can tell you that. So it was confusion. There was an announcement in the press box that Jack Neely was warming up in the bullpen, which when that usually happens, it's like a guy's warming up to potentially come in the game.
Okay.
Craig Counsell was asked about it post game. Just kind of the situation, and it was just obviously Jack Neely was recalled from Iowa today. It was about like he had just gotten to the ballpark. He got to the ballpark late and needed to warm up because he didn't have a chance to prior to the game. It wasn't that Shota was like hurting or anything, and I think the mound visit was just he walked a couple guys in that inning, just kind of get him back on track, give him a chance to a little breather. I would guess the two things weren't connected because he said it was just Neely needed to warm up because he got to the ballpark late.
Back in the day, if he would have come out onto the field to throw that down the third base line, that would have looked even weirder.
Yeah.
Okay, at least a good explanation for that. What's the latest not to bring the room down, but what's the update on Steele? Now he's on the injured list, and they looked at the MRI again?
Well, that was they were always going to get another opinion on it. They were just going to seek more opinions. That was what Counsell had told us yesterday. They felt because the hope was that Steele could play catch again today. He was still feeling sore. They weren't going to have him play catch. Hopefully he can play catch Friday and test out the elbow. But the way they looked at it was they didn't want him to be – he was going to have to – if he wasn't going to go on the IL, he was going to have to make a start at some point in the next how many days. Because they don't want, especially at this point in the year, just don't want him just sitting for 2 weeks. I think that was part of it, is that the balance of obviously you're worried about his health and you want to make sure he's healthy and you take care of him. But also, like, if you're trying to win games and trying to make a playoff push, like, he would have to make a start or you have to put him on the IL. And you don't want to make him start when he's not fully healthy and ready to go. So that, I think, played into the decision of, it's just put him on the IL. They backdated it 3 days, so it's down to 12 days that his IL stint would be starting with today. And yeah, I think, like I said, like they're hopeful he can play catch Friday, test out the elbow. I think they're still hopeful that it's a minimum stint and that Steele does pitch again this year, obviously, for the Cubs. It's going to depend on his health. If he's healthy and ready to go, Counsell said he's going to pitch again, but that's what it depends on. And like I said, 12 days on the IL when they backdate the IL stint. So I think I looking at like the first 10 days is kind of what I think the first 10 days is kind of like the really critical days of like how is he progressing? How is he taking these next steps? Where does he go from there?
Sounds good. Well, this was a fun game. Ryan got to see a no-hitter, combined no-hitter, I should clarify that. The first one by the Cubs at Wrigley Field since Milt Pappas in 1972.
Would you say that this is the most historic post-game show in CHGO Cubs history, Ryan? I know the Esteban Quiros game was something.
That was coming out of my mouth next. That was going to be my next. I was going to say, well, there was that Quiros game where I got 3 points on who you got. Did we do post game for Christian Bethencourt's 7 RBI game? Oh yeah. Did we? It's like you passed out during it. You've forgotten it already.
But on the real, I can't think of something as historic as throwing a no-hitter
that's happened.
Yeah. Maybe even CHGO history, not just like Cubs.
I would say CHGO history.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
What's been more historic from the Bulls?
I didn't say from the Bulls. Bears
the
landed the number
Blackhawks.
1 pick. The Bears landed the number 1 pick and drafted
Joey,
in
we
the
said
number
post-game
It's not a
show.
post-game show.
We're talking about on the field play.
Okay,
On
you're
the
right.
field
Okay,
play.
fine.
This is the most historic
that
one,
might
Joey.
be
Just
it then.
remember you're a part of this team.
You
What
were
about-
here first.
How about the Sox 108th loss on Sunday?
Okay.
Wow,
That
you're
was pretty
That
historic.
Fair
Fair enough.
Back.
Come on, what do you
That's
mean?
more historic and more incredible
say-
than a combined no-hitter. You're right, Joey.
I would say this one more historic than the Sox 108, but if the Sox can beat the all-time loss record, that probably takes it.
More like win.
Yeah. Fair. Did they win today?
They
did win
won, and
today.
I bet against them. It's the one game they win. Unbelievable. I live bet the Orioles down 5-1. I'm like, this is easy money. It didn't happen.
This is easy money.
All right. Don't forget, we got the takeover coming up on Friday.
Yep.
Diehard, sign up because you want to get it and be a diehard before the football season starts, but also for all of Ryan's stuff that's coming from Wrigley Field here down the stretch. A couple tickets still left for that takeover, right?
Yeah, a couple tickets. If at the very least, if you just want to come see a grown man cry because of another grown man, come because that'll be me.
We should probably bring Kleenex.
Yeah.
Right? Tissues?
Yep. Yeah. The signs on Friday will be good. Looking forward to
Sign.
it.
Rizzo returned, and they wept.
And they went.
Thanks for checking out.
And we wanted Juan Soto too.
and Soto, yeah, the chance, but whatever. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast. No-hitter, combined no-hitter for the Cubs. First one at Wrigley Field by the Cubs since 1972. We'll see you Friday at the ballpark. Until then, thanks for watching and fly the W.